Hey crafty friends, welcome back to the channel. My name's Eleni Amin, and this week I wanted to talk a little bit more about what happened this weekend. And this weekend I went to my first legitimate marketed craft fair, and honestly it went pretty well. I don't really know what I was expecting to start out with, but the craft show was about 45 minutes away from my house, and I have been prepping for this for about 6 weeks now. So just kind of want to go into a few things with you of how I really got everything ready for the craft fair and how it went in general. Just kind of showing you what my setup looked like, even though I didn't exactly have enough space for everything that I brought, and I do feel like I kind of cluttered the tables a little bit too much, but again, it was my first one. I definitely know what looks good. I got a lot of good feedback, and I want to share all of that with you today. Okay, so the first thing that I want to go over is prepping. It takes a ton of time for a handmade creator to prep and actually create all of the products that we are going to be selling at a craft fair or online, wherever you are selling your products. And for me, it took a long time. Like, I have definitely spent the last 6 weeks prepping and trying to make as much as humanly possible. With that being said, I also did a lot of research. So doing your research and figuring out, okay, what are some items that you think would sell really well? So I was going around YouTube, Google, Instagram, just seeing what items people were selling and were selling out really well. Now, some of those items, it was like a crocheted chicken, so I kind of did my own pattern, something that was similar to what other people were doing as well. And so I made a lot of crocheted chickens, made a lot of cows and bees, things like that. I'm in a pretty rural area, and so I knew those things would do pretty well. And so that's kind of how I did a lot of my research beforehand, but then I also did a lot of products that I personally like creating without doing the research for it. So for example, I do a lot of candle melts and macrame keychains, macrame wall hangings, kind of like this in the background here. I made all of those things, and they went into the craft fair. And so again, when you are doing your craft fairs, when you're trying to set up and prep for them, number one thing I would do is just research and figuring out what people actually want to buy, and then doing your supplementary items that you love creating. Alright, so when it comes to the craft fair itself, the day started out pretty well, but there was a blizzard watch warning advisory, whatever you want to call it. There was one for the town that I was going to for the craft fair, and so I was a little bit nervous about how many people would actually show up, if the foot traffic was going to be decent, but obviously I could not get my money back. There's no refunds on it, so I definitely decided to go, and I'm very glad that I did, because for the most part throughout the entire fair there was not a lot of snow. It wasn't going crazy, so people were still able to, go out and about and move around town. So there was quite a bit of foot traffic the first, I would say, 4 hours. It went from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock. And yeah, I'd say the first 4 hours there was a pretty decent stream of people that were coming through, but then it started dwindling down a little bit, and I was a little concerned. I definitely made more money than I put into it, so it's fine. I definitely made money, right? So that was okay. But I think if there was more traffic, well, I know if there was more traffic, I would have made a few more sales as well. And so I know that the weather was definitely a little bit of a hindrance for it, but what can you do when you live in South Dakota? This is kind of just part of it. So this was my first experience. I think it was a really great experience because I really got good feedback. Like I said, a lot of people said they loved my items. A lot of people were completely shocked that I did everything that I have on my tables, because I have so many different, I guess, niches and materials that I use, hence why my business is called Undefined by Design. And yeah, it was just really interesting to hear how many people loved my stuff. And I even had another vendor that runs and operates another vendor show in May in another town, and she invited me to come to that one as well. So definitely something I want to be thinking about, but it was a good experience. Again, I made more money than I put into it. I think it was $50 for for the spot, and I brought my own tables and table covers, things like that. And the spot was roughly a 10 by 10 spot, so pretty decent deal. So for this show specifically, I would say the main takeaways that I have are, when you are setting up your booth, make sure that you have a little area at the end for you to have enough room to package things up, put them in bags if you need to. And I would also include some kind of an email sign-up sheet and even a couple of cards, so custom request cards if you take it. So let's say you have, you know, your crocheted cows or whatever, and you sold out of them, or people want it in a different color, they know that they can fill out a custom form, and you can do that at a later date. I also have a wholesale/retail form that people can fill out too if they have a business. And so that, the last fair that I went to, the really small one, but somebody came up to me, they were a business owner, and they wanted to have some specialized stickers with their logos on it done, and so they were able to fill out one of those forms as well. So again, having a few forms for custom things that people want, or if you don't have the quantity with you, they can also put that on the form as well. And then having, again, an email sign up list. Now with that, I would recommend, you know, giving them some kind of incentive for the emails. So for me specifically, if they signed up for an email, I would give them a 10% off coupon to use online. So make sure that you say online, otherwise you might give somebody the 10% off and they get something at your booth right there and then ask for the discount. So again, make sure that it is online. So when you're doing your setup of your booth, you want to make sure that you have similar items together. You don't want everything to look like hodgepodge. So I had 2 tables, right? And on one table I had some glass tumbler things with my macrame keychains and the candle mounts, kind of a vibey boho section. And then the other side is where I had all of my crocheted items and keychains. Like I had little crocheted chicken keychains. Those actually went over pretty well. So that's where I kept all of that stuff, kind of separated it to make it look like, hey, if you like this stuff, all of it's going to be on this side. If you are this kind of vibe, it's going to be over here. So really just thinking about when you're shopping at another retail space, what that looks like, and kind of emulate how everything should be. And also remember, don't just pack everything so full that people can't just grab something and go. We want it to be welcoming and inviting for people. Or if people think that they might knock something off if they tried to grab it from your shelf, they're probably not even going to grab it. And so again, having a warm, welcoming environment for your booth, making sure that everything is easy and accessible for people, and then, you know, having them have a way to contact you as well. So don't forget, like, business cards or something where they can find your items, and showing them that they can email you or find your items through Etsy, Shopify, your own website, whatever it might be there. But yeah, thank you so much for coming along on today's little journey here. Again, this was a little bit newer for me as well. If you want to see more videos on craft shows and things to consider, maybe even how much I made on them and spent on them, things like that, let me know in the comments. I'd love to do more on these craft shows. I will be doing 3 days next month, and then in May I may be doing a couple as well. So I definitely have a lot of time to prep for those markets, but also to share what I learned and give you guys some updates as well. So again, thank you so much for joining on today's video, and I will see you in the next one.